Now coming to this news, which we are covering it from for our answer writing practice. In fact, you can read the question. So what are your views on the idea of domicile based reservations in the private jobs? Substantiate. Right. Okay, so you have read the question. Now coming to the news over here, and we'll cover the question side by side. So basically, sometime back, Haryana state government of Haryana, or the state of Haryana, introduced a bill. Bill is essentially a proposal for a law. So bill ultimately becomes an act, so it is a proposal. So Haryana State Employment of Local Candidates Bill. So according to this, there is a condition that people who are investing in the state of Haryana, right, essentially private sector, or people who are working in Haryana, the private sector, so they have to ensure that at least 75% of their employees, and particularly the employees who earn less than rupees 30,000, so they have put a limit also. So people who earn less than 30,000, 75% of such people should be having a domicile from that state. They should be locals from that state, right? Why did they do so? Because it is seen that the cities come to, not just with Haryana but any state, so they establish their operations, they start working. There are a lot of state GDP is increasing, national GDP is increasing, but locals are not getting employed, locals are not getting jobs, and ultimately they protest also. So to accommodate that workforce, the localites, into that company and get them employed, the government has come to this, has basically come up with this bill. And Haryana is not the only state. Jharkhand is coming up with this proposal. Jharkhand is making a new law. Telangana has already enacted a law on similar lines. Karnataka is also contemplating a new law on these lines. So different states are thinking on this particular aspect over here, right? So we can see that domicile based reservation in private jobs is becoming a reality. So what are your views on it that you have to express over here? Right. Now we'll consider with the point of view of Haryana, because we have Haryana news, but yes, you can take it with respect to any of the states. The issues are going to be common over here. So what do we see? Why did this come into existence? First of all, we see that the center is basically the state or the government is basically saying that onus of creation of jobs is not for the government itself, it is also for the private sector, private sector. They also have to create the jobs. That is their responsibility also, if you want to do their business, right? And makes sense. So the locals should also get benefited as a result of this. Now what are the concerns? The concern is, the various stakeholders have said, first of all, they say that this law is unconstitutional. You are discriminating on the basis of one's place of birth, which is not permitted. So it is violative of Article 14, Equality Before Law. Article 15 again talks of that discrimination should not be done by the state. And then we have Article 16, which looks into the matters of employment. In fact, all these state, the laws that the states are coming up with, it is using the provision of Article 16, which says equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Now you see a problem over here. The bill is with reference to public employment, but they are enacting it for the private sector. So this power is not there, but still they are doing it. Okay. Further, it says that discrimination shall not take place on the grounds of one's place of birth or residence or any of them. So either on the basis of the son of soil approach or on the basis of domicile, not permitted. Simple. And furthermore, to create, if the center decides that, if the government decides even then that yes, residence can be a criteria, that can only be done in matters of public employment, and that too by the parliament. So the state legislature does not have the authority to do so. It is only with the parliament, and that too with reference to public employment. Right. So this is it. And appointments are posted in favor of any backward class of section. On those grounds, it can be done, but we cannot declare residence or place of birth as a criteria for backward class. That is not possible, right? This is wrong. So it is violative of Article 14, 15, 16, and we can also say Article 19, which provides for the right to do business, the freedom to do business, and it also provides the freedom to move to any place and establish one's residence or settle over there. So it is violative of that also. So it can be seen as unconstitutional on those grounds. Furthermore, it basically, you can see that government is transferring its burden of job creation and employment on the private sector over here. And the private sector feels that it is not going to find merit as well as skills because just from that locality, it is very, very difficult. It is very difficult, and it has to, it has to depend on the migrant workers particularly. It needs that freedom. So most of the workers, 99% of the workers would fall under this category of people who are earning less than 30,000. So it becomes difficult. And many a times, these workers that are there at the lower levels, they are not in a formal employment. They do not have, they are not salaried as such, but they are on contractual terms. So when there is more work, they hire, and when there is no work, they put them on the layoff. So the company cannot again look into this criteria every time that the person is local. So that will again make it a bit difficult. Now think about it, just from the Haryana perspective, you have Gurgaon. This is all in the NCR region. So Gurgaon, then there is Noida. So around 50 kilometers away, but similarly placed. So if such criteria is there, the companies would say, why do we stay in Gurgaon? Why not move to Noida? Right? So it affects the competitiveness of that particular locality. So this is again a problem. So companies or investors would be wary of investing in that location. So on those grounds, on the economic economic point of view also, this is problematic. Furthermore, we can also say this goes against the ethos of Ek Bharat Shresht Bharat, where people can freely move from one place to another, and there is harmony amongst the people. So here the states are focusing upon their domicile, their local population. So this will create problems, right? And it will also affect the welfare of the migrant workers, because the jobs, if you look at the job market also, if you just look on the maps, it is around the major cities and the mega cities. So it will affect the prospects of jobs for the migrant workers who are typically coming from the backward areas where there is no jobs, where the economic activity is bad. So this is problematic. So I hope you can now write an answer on this, on this particular topic. So what are your views on the ideas of domicile-based reservation in private jobs? Substantiate. So it's very simple. You just have to explain the concept. You can explain by referring to the newly proposed laws. You can refer to the Telangana Act also. So you can do that. Then you can explain the rationale behind it. You can bring out the issues, and you can conclude suitably as to what points that you want to bring about. Now, if such a question is asked, don't go very deep into the provisions of the constitution or the articles, because then your article will be too narrow-minded on the constitution. If a question specifically says about the constitutionality, then you have to go deeper into this Article 16 argument. Okay, here are some judgments. I think you just take a screenshot, right? These are some judgments that you can refer when you're writing your answer. But that is only if the question specifically asks you about the constitutionality or the views of the Supreme Court.